Alright, so it is election day and we've used Excel. We also used databases to be able to look at some of the data, do some simple data analysis. We've been working with Python, so let's take a look at it using Python. So we have Anaconda, which is a distribution that we're using because it's useful for data science. And here is the Anaconda Navigator. Let's walk through the home screen a little bit. You have the home screen. There's a bunch of applications that are available. These are the ones that are installed. There are actually some that are not yet installed as well. We are not really concerned with those, but you can install them simply by clicking on install. All right, these are for this environment. So again, let's go back to the ones that are installed because that's the one we'll be using. You can use Anaconda on the cloud. You can use Jupyter Lab or the notebook. We'll talk about the differences. If you want to program with PowerShell, that's okay. Or use any of the other IDEs like Spider, VS Code, Watson, or Oracle Cloud. So the environments, we just have a simple basic environment. We have all the different modules that are installed. Again, there are so many different modules. We don't need all of them for our basic environment. You can create your own environment if you like, or clone this one, or import one that has already been created, or back this up so you can share it with someone else. If you need to learn more stuff or join the community, there's more stuff for you out there. So in here, I'm going to open Jupyter Notebook. If I launch it, it's going to open in a web browser. So make sure you set up your web browser correctly so that you can use the right browser. So when it opens up, this is what you would see, the home page of the Jupyter Notebook. It shows you the files that are located in your desktop. You have to navigate to where you actually want to go to. So actually, let's shut this down and open it from scratch. So yeah, I close that. Now I can launch it. It will take a second or two to launch. While it's launching, again, we want to double check our environment. And there you go. Awesome. So it's going to load up the tree, and from there you can see that you are in your home directory. In your home directory, which is Jupyter's server root directory. Currently there should be nothing running. In here we need to go to the desktop. On our desktop we have the CSV file that we downloaded from Kaggle and a few other files. We want to go into a folder. Within this folder we have a few files in there. Again, that CSV file is also in there so that we can access it directly. And here is our interactive Python notebook, right? So I'm going to open that, and I have a few steps outlined just to make life easy for us. So I annotated them, or maybe not, so it wasn't saved. That sucks. Anyway, since it wasn't annotated, let's walk through it anyway. So I don't need to import this here. So first thing first, we import Pandas. Pandas is a dictionary, or not a dictionary, a library or a module that comes pre-packaged in Anaconda. So we don't need to download or install it. We just import it. We're good. But we're importing it and using an alias called PD. So PD is what we use here. With that alias, we're able to use the read CSV function or method within this module to be able to open our CSV file. Okay, so the CSV file again is located right in here. So I'm pretty sure it's going to open up with that into a variable we call df. df is short for data frame. So data frame is what we're going to create. Once we create that, let's execute this line. Nothing happens. After creating it, we probably want to see the first few records in there. So there are many ways we can do that. We can run df head to see the top 5, or we can run df tail to see the last 5. Okay, you can see this is Wyoming, Wyoming, Wyoming. Or you can do df info to see the information about this data frame. So it's telling you the data frame has 15 columns and 4,287 rows or records, and it gives you information about the columns, the data type, and so on and so forth, the ones that have null, not null, and so on. Just gives you basic information. You can also use df describe, if I can spell, and execute that, and it gives you a description of each one of them, some basic descriptive statistics. For the year column, there is that many number of records, and so on and so forth, the mean year, the standard deviation. If we look at candidate votes, it gives you some totals and maximum candidate votes, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's how you get some basic information. But let's go back to the head so that we can see what the data looks like. Okay, so our data has the year column, the state column. We can see the name of those columns and use them as expected. Now, next up, this looks really complicated, so let me break it down a little bit. First, we are using the lock, which is going to create a subset from our general data. So using that, we are saying, hey, go to our frame, and I want you to locate the year column. Give me the year column, which is equal to 2020. So I'm only concerned with data from 2020. And we're using a logical operator. Give me 2020 where the state is Michigan. And that's the first part of our expression. The second part is telling you that, hey, as you're giving me Michigan information, I don't really care about all the columns. I need the state, the candidate votes, and the party. So I don't need all these other columns. That's what you get presented with here. The state of Michigan, the candidates, the candidate votes, the simplified party information. It doesn't have the year. If we need to add the year, we can simply go in there and add year and execute this. Now our code is going to include the year right there. So line 7 could use that output. You can toggle the way you want your output to be displayed. Now we've been able to create that just to show you how you can create subsets and so on. Next, very important, you want to group your data. So we can group the data by, let's do it by party, because the candidates always change, but the party remains the same. So votes by year by party, we have the year, and the party is what we're using to group. And we want the candidate votes, which are going to be summed together. Okay, once we've done that, I think all of this can go to a new sheet actually, because I want to keep it separate. So if I execute this, nothing happens, which is totally fine, because now I need to add a new cell underneath and actually execute that in there to see what the data looks like. So let's execute it. That's what it looks like. So we've been able to group the year and the party. For this year, Democrats had this number of votes, Libertarians had that number of votes, others had that number of votes, and Republican had this number of votes. All of that was for 1976. Everything has been grouped as such all the way to present day. And that's the information that we can use now to plot our graphs. Just like that. If we needed to make the group more sophisticated, we could go ahead and do that as well. But for now, let's stick with this and keep it simple. So the next thing we want to do, let me go ahead and add another cell. So I add another cell underneath, and I'm going to use my copied information, which is just going to use Matplotlib. So I haven't imported Matplotlib yet, so that's why it's going to cause me an error right there. So I need Matplotlib to be imported in, where is it? Sorry, I'm scrolling too fast. Right there. So I'm importing it using this alias of PLT, which is what I'm going to use to plot the candidate data. But where is the candidate data coming from? Coming from every candidate. I shouldn't call it candidate, I should call it party, but that's fine. So for every party in the data that we have in here, scroll back up, for every one of these parties, simplified party or party simplified, right there, the ones that are unique, I want you to get the total number of votes from in there. So the total number of votes is what's going to be plotted against the year. I'm going to use that label for that candidate. If you execute this, where did it go? It gives me an error. Votes by candidates here. So this should be party. Yay. Because remember, I just changed the name right here. So that's the name I need to use. That's the data that I'm looking at. So candidate in votes per year. That's the data I need. The same for this. And the same for this. Now let's execute that. And there you go. So it's showing you the progression of the votes for each. Red is Republican, blue is Democrat, yellow is Libertarian, green is other. So you can see the differences. Votes by candidate is not defined because I tried printing this again. And where did it go? Where did it go? There it is. Let's execute that again. Now it should be clean. So at the end of the day, I printed the data that was used, and I also printed the growth rate. In order for me to get a growth rate, it's a simple calculation right here. Candidate's growth rate is calculating the growth per year and getting the percentage change multiplying by 100. So this is using Matplotlib. There are other tools you can use out there. One of my favorite is Plotly. You can see the syntax is really simple. And again, we have to remember to change the data that we're using. So we're going to create a figure. That figure is going to be from using this plot express, create a line graph from this data. X coordinate will be the year, the Y coordinate is the votes. Just use the party color, sorry, use the party as the different colors and create a title. Votes trend over party, blah 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 blah. And there it is. This is really good because as you can see, you have the hover option. You can see the exact values each time you hover for each of the parties. You can also decide to say, hey, I want to see just Democrats and Republicans. It's interactive like that. Better yet, you can even zoom in to a particular area and say, yeah, I really wanted to see what's in there. You can zoom in even closer, or you can reset it back to what it was. You can zoom in using the scroll and so on. You can even pan and move it to any particular area, so it's that interactive. Again, that's the power of Python. That's the key thing I wanted to show to you. If you need to learn more about Plotly, you click on their logo, it takes you to their website, and from there you should be good to go. Other options again include like Seaborn. Seaborn, very similar to what you've seen. Depending on your preference, what your team uses, what you're comfortable with, what tools or features you need. And another option is Bokeh. So let's do that for Bokeh as well. Just make sure we change the data where we're getting it from. Otherwise, we're going to end up with an error message since we made a change to the name. So let's execute this. For Bokeh, it's going to open up in a new window. Again, it's web-based. It has all those features. Well, most of those features we talked about. Again, you can make it interactive. We want to see Democrats, we want to see Republican, we want to zoom in, we want to download it as an image, refresh it, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and that's about it. So again, we looked at 4 options: Bokeh. We also looked at Seaborn. We took a look at Plotly Express and Matplotlib, and all of them, as you can see, they are built on Pandas. So Pandas is the main thing that you use, which is also built on NumPy. Numbers for Python, scientific. So you use data frames. We didn't talk about series, but series is like a subset, a column or set of columns and so on. So that's how you can do that. There's a lot more you can do, not just line graphs. We can do bar charts, histograms. You can stack them up. You can use scatter diagrams and so on. So yeah, as we work on Python, I'll definitely spend some time to show you how you can do all of this. Enjoy. And my phone is blowing off. I'm sorry. Let me know what questions you have. Like, subscribe, share, and have a wonderful elections day. See you around. Catch me on the next video.